Well, Bill Dunkelberg with us, Benning and Scattergood, Temple University, runs a bank in his free time. He wears like 4 or 5 different hats here, which we like a lot. Bring up chart 5, nominal GDP, if you would here. And this is the gap. Okay, here's the way it works, folks. You look at the level, and you can see the trend line of our American economy, and there's a crisis, and we've really done pretty well. We've exceeded that peak of 2008, but if you extrapolate out that line on the left side of the chart, where it's a $1 trillion hole, do we fill that, Bill Dunkelberg? Do we feel that where we should be if we kept growing like 06, 07, 08?
Well, I think we can. We have to get, of course, some adjustments made. That is, we really kind of spent ahead of ourselves by incurring lots of debt. Consumer debt went up to $14 trillion, way above trend where it would have been if we had kept the same debt-to-income ratio we had in 1999 for the next 10 years. So that debt is weighing heavily on us. Obviously, we have a lot of foreclosures. That keeps people from spending. But also, you know, there are a bunch of people who paid too much for the house, and they have a mortgage that's really too big. They'll never default, but it keeps them from spending money because they're paying more than they really should have on the mortgage. So this drag on spending is going to be hanging on us for a while. You're
a banker. I make a joke of that, but seriously, you're in the operation of a smaller bank. J.P. Morgan showed the door to their foreclosure guy today, I thought in a collegial way. Where are we in this foreclosure mess? Can we get in? Can we clear this market?
Well, see, that was the nice thing about the dot-com crash. At the end of the day, we knew who all the winners and losers were. It was all determined, and we moved on. Now we can't even figure out who owns the assets. We can't find out who the owners are. We can't get the processing done. The courts are so clogged that some of the issues that we're dealing with at the bank are going to take us forever to resolve. Right. We're going to get our money back, no loss, but we can't get the money and put it in place. So a lot of issues out there. It takes time, patience, and of course that's something that politicians don't have with an election coming up. And of course consumers are suffering with this whole thing. It's difficult, to say the least.
Now we got to get Bill Dunkelberg wound up so he falls on the canal behind him there in Tampa. Earlier this morning on Bloomberg Surveillance, I spoke with Bloomberg View columnist Jonathan Alter, and I asked him what should be the focus. We need new policy prescriptions to revive the economy.
There is not a focus on job creation. The focus has been on deficit reduction. The Republicans have been very successful in changing the whole conversation to deficit reduction. And it's quite true that in the medium term and certainly in the long term, deficit reduction is critical. We can't have an insolvent nation. But in the short term, the objective should be job creation.
Jonathan Alter there with Bloomberg View. Bill Dunkelberg, we need a jobs program. What is the best one, even if you hate them all? What is the best, the most efficient jobs program?
Well, I listened to the president the other day, and I didn't hear anything very much coming out of that. I think that there was some talk about cutting 2 points off the FICA tax that the employer paid. That's not going to help very much. It reduces the cost of hiring a teeny bit, but the point is you don't hire somebody unless they can pay for themselves. So if you're going to cut taxes more, it's the consumer. Give it to them. They're struggling. Let's give them more money back. That was NFIB's idea back in 08. Said if you're going to borrow $800 billion, use it to eliminate the FICA tax. And that's a lot of money in the monthly paycheck, and that money gets spent. So focus on the consumer. That's probably the best thing to do. And give us a good path that everybody can believe in so we can understand about where we're going to go over the next year or two. That would help consumers too. More confidence in the future means that we're more willing to spend some money.
Let's look at the consumer here. I love this chart. Long-term view. Thanks for your emails, folks, on these long-term view charts. Back to World War II, the booming consumption to GDP, and we get up to that 70% level. Bill Dunkelberg, we've got Greg Mellick on later on Retail America. I mean, come on, at the margin, you can't run a society on 70% consumption, can you?
Well, yeah, we sure shouldn't. We used to always teach it was 67%, but remember in the late 80s, or late 90s, sorry, we started ramping that up. We took it to an all-time high in 2000, but that was not so bad then because 64.5% of the adult population had a job. The problem is that when things fell out of bed late in 2000 into 01, we didn't stop. We just kept going. The savings rate headed down towards zero, and we started borrowing all that money. That was a terrible mistake. So you're right. We have to stop that kind of nonsense and start saving, which of course means we can invest. That raises worker productivity and creates long-term jobs, which is what we need.
We got a note on the way out here, but I want to talk right now, Bill Dunkelberg, about evil leverage. You were talking in your lengthy note today. Evil leverage. What is evil leverage?
Well, evil leverage is that which we've been kind of lured into, trying to live beyond our means. So now, you know, all the sovereign debt problems are really from trying to live beyond our means, government making promises they can't keep. And then, of course, we also try to live beyond our means. You know, back in the olden days, we always started with a small house and worked our way up. But the young people today, they want to start with the 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom swimming pool with the nice cars, and they do it by borrowing money. And of course, it works as long as everything's hopping along nicely, but when you had a hiccup, then all kinds of bad things happen. We have to stay away from that, and we have to put new value on saving and patience, and that would be very important for the economy going forward.
Bill Dunkelberg, thank you so much for the NFIB. This small business report used to be like, yeah, okay, big deal. And boy, has it become important as small business really struggles. Here's a piece from Bill Dunkelberg's lengthy note. You can get that from the NFIB. Small business economic trends. To many, the world looks like it's falling apart at the seams with evil leverage, creating problems everywhere. Everyone can't live beyond their means. A lecture from Reverend Dunkelberg.